Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining our webinar tonight. It's the second month in a row. We had fantastic questions come through. And at the end of the evening tonight, one client will be selected to win a free IVF cycle. So we're going to get started with some questions. Right?
Well, we're here to answer. Silence that. Mute the sound here. Hold on, everyone. We want to make sure that we're not.
There we go.
All right, welcome everyone. Lisa, Dr. Kiltz, here to share some ideas and answer your questions at CNY Fertility Center. And it's pretty amazing. 20 years of providing IVF in upstate New York and seeing patients globally. And we are, I think, hands down, one of the most affordable centers in the globe.
Absolutely.
Certainly in the nation. And it's amazing. I'm seeing our stats out there and our numbers. People are really, really getting a lot of success out there. So just thank you to everyone for sticking with us.
Absolutely. We have a fantastic center. We have great results and really a great team here. So we're happy to welcome you as well if you have never joined us before and introduce you a little bit to our center. You have a question box right on your webinar pane, so you can type in any questions you want, type in as many as you'd like, and we'll do our best to get through all of them.
And we're going to start at top and just keep on going down.
Absolutely.
And if we don't answer them, we welcome everyone to email us, and I do a lot of phone consultations and Skype for free, and it really is my mission in life is to offer information that helps you either conceive naturally or improve your odds for wherever you're going in this globe on your fertility journey.
Absolutely. So we will get started. Starting off, the first question is, what do you recommend for someone over 40, IVF or IUI?
Oh, well, so IUI or IVF, and I'm going to throw out natural there also, especially for those over 40. And we know that as we age, especially women, reproduction goes down. Sooner that you start planning and doing, the better. But if you find yourself in your late 30s, early 40s, it's not too late. And both IUI and IVF afford options for fertility. Definitely, if you look at a monthly chance of conception, IVF is going to offer you best chances. Whether it's stimulated IVF or using medications to help, I think that both of those are great. One of the things I really recommend is CoQ10, fish oil, folic acid, DHEA, and the ketogenic diet.
Absolutely.
Really helps and prepare. And so, in general, natural cycle conception, if you're first starting in your early 40s, it's going to be in the 5% range. IUI, 10%. We're seeing IVF in the 15 to 20% range in those early 40s. So don't give up. Keep trying. Hope that helps.
Absolutely. Let's see. The next client is 39 and will be 40 in July. She's had 3 failed IUIs and stricture and stenosis of the cervix, hoping to do travel fertility, but she will and can only if she can afford to do 1 cycle. So what should she do to higher her chances, to raise her chances if she only has 1 chance to travel to us?
Well, the ketogenic diet is the first thing that I recommend to everyone. Let's reduce inflammation in our bodies. And yoga, acupuncture, meditation, massage, anything you can do to reduce the stress. You mentioned stenotic cervix. Typically that isn't a significant issue when it comes to either IUI or embryo transfer. Those are simple things taken care of at the time of the transfer, I've found. Some people may initially do a dilation or hysteroscopy a month or 2 ahead of time. We've been using human growth hormone as a priming month before. Spanish program's been using it, really had great outcomes. So by adding the human growth hormone for the 30-day estrogen prime and then a stimulation with human growth hormone, a 300, 150 dosing or a 50, 450, 150 kind of helps in the process. And 1 time can work, but don't limit yourself to saying only 1 time. And it actually is much more affordable than people imagine. At $3,900 for an IVF cycle, which includes all the transfers, plus freezing, thawing, and transfer those embryos, we really work to make it much more affordable.
Absolutely.
So I think the key is anything you could do to prepare the body, reduce stress, reduce inflammation, and then the pre-stimulation really helps with human growth hormone. And then one thing I've really recommended much more is the laparoscopy, hysteroscopy, to evaluate endometriosis, remove any significant fibroids, certainly remove polyps. That's kind of the best approach that I find in this.
Wonderful, thank you. The next question is a fantastic one, and the client states, what does priming and embryo glue do, and how does it work?
Well, if you can answer the whys or hows, you know, you're better than I am, because I can't. I don't know.
Yeah.
What I imagine is that the priming will help boost the egg function and production, reduce the inflammatory process, but anything we can do to boost the egg function and the uterine blood flow, I think helps. The embryo glue, now we looked at it and didn't find a difference, but there's some evidence that using it will help boost the implantation process, and whether it's helping that embryo boost its stickiness by increasing its receptor affinity to the uterine lining, I think those are the things that it probably works the best on. But truthfully, we're all having theories in this, and I find that the whys don't matter as much as if what you're doing isn't working, let's do something different.
Yes. The second part of this question is it better to do a fresh or a frozen transfer?
Better to do a fresh or frozen. Well, that really hasn't been well answered. If you're doing a high stimulation IVF cycle and you're getting hyperstimulated, so you have more than 8 to 10 eggs or estrogen levels greater than 2 to 3,000, there's more and more evidence that there's dyssynchrony between the uterus and the embryo, and by freezing the embryos and coming back either in a natural cycle or a medicated cycle where you're better lining up the lining and the embryo timing, it's going to be a lot better. And so we're finding much more better outcome with the embryo freezing cycles. Whether you're doing PGS, PGD or not, we think that it really helps a lot. We're also doing a lot more hysteroscopies, endometrial scratches, endometrial biopsies, and really believe that helps in the process. And so we also can coordinate our immune treatments a lot better in a frozen cycle than a fresh cycle.
Very interesting.
So ultimately, the answer is it depends on your stimulation, your embryo quality, your number of embryos. But I would say more and more, we're going to be focusing on more freeze-all cycles, even if you're only making a few, and then coming back at a later date, a month or two, and then transferring the embryos.
Absolutely. So the next question is, have you seen success for PCOS clients using the keto diet without any additional fertility treatment?
The keto diet for PCOS, and is that enough? And I've been amazed. The answer is yes. A year ago plus, I had no idea what it was, until I personally started the ketogenic diet myself and found my weight is suddenly rock solid, high school weight. My energy is amazing, as you could probably tell. I don't exercise. And many of the clients that I've shared this with are getting pregnant. So I call it the bacon baby or bacon 2 baby, and I call it the baby diet, bacon, eggs, butter, beef, and it's amazing. There's a lot of stuff out there on ketogenesis. A very high fat, low carbohydrate, no carbohydrate diet is what reduces inflammation. Inflammation is the cause of metabolic syndrome. By simply doing that, you clear the inflammation, you increase ovulation, you increase the ability of the egg and sperm and embryo to thrive and survive and implant. And so I recommend it to everyone, because obviously if you're seeking fertility and having a problem getting pregnant and staying pregnant, you got a problem. And the first thing you should go to is the Fertile Fatty Food Plan.
Absolutely.
And about a year plus ago, I had a number of patients coming to me getting pregnant, and I had no idea how that happened because we couldn't help get it happen. And they were doing the ketogenic plan. Now, some people do the paleo, but I found the keto is a real therapeutic approach. Pretty amazing.
It is. It's fantastic, and we love seeing the pictures of the keto babies come in, as they call them.
The keto babies.
Wonderful keto babies.
It is quite amazing, and if you haven't read, I brought a book here that I highly recommend. Is Gary Taubes' book, Good Calories, Bad Calories. I also recommend his book, Why We Get Fat.
Yes.
It's amazing stories, and most of us will not believe it. It's hard to believe that fruits, fiber, and vegetables are bad for us, and that fatty meat is good for us. But that's the baby diet.
That's it.
And do that, and let us know. Get on our website and blog us, and tell us about your keto babies. We have one client who miscarried until she went into ketosis. Ketosis is healthy, by the way. Your body really wants it. And then she delivered a baby. And so, highly recommend it.
Great, thank you. So this next client just went through an IUI, and it took place just the day after the HCG shot. But there was absolutely no test done to see if ovulation had happened. Is that normal, or should one test to see if ovulation has started before doing the IUI?
Well, it's not easy to test the day after, but we typically will do a test a week later to check your progesterone level, to make sure your progesterone and your thyroid is in a level that tells us you've ovulated. So if that doesn't show it, then in the next cycle, it may be important to either add a little bit of gonadotropins, be a little bit more cognizant of the follicle size, maybe going a little larger, and maybe adding some Clomid letrozole, which we do a lot of letrozole. We really have gone away from Clomid. We find that letrozole is easier to tolerate, has less psychological effects. This emotional process enough. You don't need Clomid to make you a raging maniac. And both men and women, by the way, because this is an emotional process. And but definitely, I recommend the checking. It's not so easy the day after, but because the 12, 24 to 36 hours of the insemination intercourse is typically an adequate timing to help conception.
Very interesting. So the next client says that her husband has an 83% amorphous head. Is it as bad as it sounds, and is it still possible for a good result in an IVF cycle? Well,
the interesting part about sperm and eggs and embryos are the majority are abnormal. And actually, if you look at the sperm, there's 4% normal forms or greater is considered normal. Seems pretty amazing. Well, you know, there's millions of sperm and only one egg per cycle. And it's an amazing this process happens at all.
Absolutely.
The majority of eggs, sperm, and embryos never have a chance to become a baby. So a low morphology certainly still has a chance for either IUI or IVF. I encourage men and women to work on the ketogenic plan together, or if you're separate, do it separate. It definitely helps boost sperm and egg. We also recommend for the guys that if they have a lot of abnormal sperm forms, to do a testicular scrotal ultrasound, check thyroid, check testosterone levels, check estrogen levels, get an exam by someone that knows about male fertility, and then really focus on the ketogenic plan. Men will benefit from yoga, meditation, acupuncture, and slow it down. Exercise for men and women ultimately raises cortisol and epinephrine levels. It raises inflammation. It adversely affects sperm and eggs. I believe we're meant to walk not run. But we're gladiators and we like to show off, and it's part of the basic instinctual nature.
Yes.
But I really believe that there's a lot that can be done to help modulate sperm and egg function and morphology. There are a lot of medications out there, supplements. I always say a high fat, zero carb. Fruits, vegetables, I believe, are not healthy for us. That's a whole nother conversation. There's the Theralogics, has some really great supplements, antioxidants, can be helpful. But in fact, if you eat that really high fat, red meat, fatty fish, it's the best.
Wonderful. So the next client is using a donor eggs for her cycle, and she's wondering how important vitamin D level is. Hers was 13.5.
Well, why is a vitamin D so low? And that's the big challenge. My belief is inflammation in the gut is causing leaky gut, and we're depleting our vitamin D. We're not able to absorb it. And absolutely a low vitamin D level will adversely affect sperm, eggs, embryos, implantation, inflammation.
Interesting.
And so by taking 5,000 supplement, reducing grains and inflammatory, fibrous, sweet foods will really help. And it's amazing. The fatty meats contain the fat-soluble vitamins, and we're not eating them. You go to the butcher, and they give you a piece of lean meat. And so when we miss the fat, we're missing the fat-soluble vitamins. So ADEK, you got to get it through the fatty meat, and most of us, not me, but most of us are shunning fatty meat. And if you want to get pregnant, if you want to boost sperm function, egg function, and vitamin D, that's the best way to do it.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next question is, what are the benefits of massage before and after transfer?
Massage before and after transfer. So the transfer, insemination are all very stressful processes. So we're all hyper and we're nervous. And so the stress adversely affects epinephrine and cortisol levels. And massage, the human touch is very critical to our health and wellness. And interesting, many people don't like to hug and touch. You can't touch, it's sort of like, can't touch this.
Absolutely.
But I really believe we need to be, our partners, we need to be cognizant of touch. And massage is just another form of touch that helps heal the body, helps release decrease the stress hormones and increase the serotonin and oxytocin levels that are really pro-implantation and pro-pregnancy. And so one story recently is a couple went on vacation, went to the Bahamas, relaxed, and bingo, they get pregnant. So whatever you can do, whether it's massage or yoga or acupuncture or go for a walk in nature, slow it down, the critical parts, I believe.
Wonderful. The next client is wondering whether you do rescue ICSI.
Rescue ICSI, absolutely. But since ICSI is our standard for all IVF, and it's kind of an interesting, well, why do we do ICSI for everyone? Because why are we doing IVF for people with open tubes, normal sperm, and not getting pregnant? So we're already doing rescue IVF when everything looks normal. So in my mind, why do we need to do a test of, let's see if they get together, and if they don't, then we'll do ICSI. So we standardized and made ICSI our priority. We have it included in our affordable fertility rates. But if you don't want ICSI, you don't have to have ICSI. And if they don't fertilize, we'll be glad to do rescue ICSI. Because in some way we're doing rescue fertility treatment, because when it's not happening, we're throwing out the life jackets. And we're here to rescue the process to help increase your chances, maybe help you swim, and teach you a different way.
Wonderful. So this client is wondering if you have been diagnosed with endometriosis via laparoscopy and it has been cleaned up, what are your chances of pregnancy? Is IVF still your best option?
Well, if you look at the per cycle chance of pregnancy, IVF is always your best option. But I don't think it should be the first option. It's just part of the menu.
Yeah.
So endometriosis is a pelvic inflammatory condition. I believe it's caused by general inflammation from the gut that ventures to the rest of our body. It can be removed by either laparoscopy and excision or coagulation or laser. There's lots of theories, which is the one. Believe me, they all have some benefit.
Yes.
Clearing it up does actually increase natural pregnancy rates, IUI pregnancy rates, and IVF pregnancy rates, whether using your eggs or frozen, thawed embryos. All of these things I think are helpful. The exact number is not so easy to tell, but I believe it should be that one of the earliest things we do, check the sperm, check the ovaries, tubes, uterus, a laparoscopy. I'm seeing so many people conceive by removing a little bit of endometriosis. Today we did 3 laparoscopies. All 3 had endometriosis, which we were able to excise, and we've seen so many people have success. Most of us IVF specialists have been trained to take everyone to IVF and forget about natural, forget about laparoscopy. The problem is that finding a study to prove one way or another is difficult in anything, and I can always find a way to prove what I believe. So, that said, laparoscopy helps, and then combining that either with natural, IUI, or IVF are all great ways, combined with immune treatments such as intralipids, Lovenox, prednisone. We've been using a lot of low-dose naltrexone, especially in the metabolic syndrome, PCOS, and endometriosis, and finding a lot of reduction in inflammation and spontaneous pregnancies.
Wonderful. Thank you. So the next question is, what are the success rates for someone over 36 with an IVF cycle?
So you can look all over the place, and depends on the patients that are accepted into a program, the patients that we allow to do IVF, the patients we allow to do more than one IVF. The statistics in IVF are all over the place. High numbers, low numbers. The actual truth is 36 is about a 30 to 40% delivery rate for most comers. The problem with IVF is that we think we could look at a number and tell people you can make it or not, and the truth is that I found it's doing something different in persistence that matters more than anything. So if you look at SART data from one clinic to another, and 1 month to another, or 1 year to another, it's all over the place. There's recent evidence that SART CDC data is really been misrepresented, and there are many cycles that are missing, and why, we don't know. But I personally believe that both natural IUI and IVF are all great options. In general, under 35, it's about a 40 to 50% delivery rate. And then it goes down from there. And at about, what was that age, 30?
36.
36 is about a 30 to 40% delivery rate. But if you don't do it,
absolutely.
So.
Wonderful. So what can be added to an IVF protocol for someone with diagnosed endometriosis to improve embryo implantation chances?
So endometriosis is evidence of inflammation. And inflammation is, in my experience, the #1 cause of infertility. The laparoscopy helps. I believe the low-dose naltrexone helps. Monthly intralipids before the cycle, and then weekly intralipids until 13 or 14 weeks is the way to get fat into the system and reduce the inflammation. We've been doing a lot of intrauterine HCG, intrauterine Neupogen, and then more recently adding Prograf, Tracolimus, which is an anti-inflammatory drug, for 2 weeks until the pregnancy test, and found a significant improvement in implantation. And then the next part of it is adding back the Neupogen until about 12 to 14 weeks. And then we also highly recommend, if you failed that treatment, to look at IVIG.
Yeah.
And more recently, we've had a number of clients successful with LIT therapy who have gone to either the Markham Fertility Center in Toronto or to Nogales, Texas.
Yeah.
And these are those areas that I call the black box.
Yes.
And there definitely is evidence of improvement. The problem is that finding a prospective randomized double-blind placebo-controlled study is not going to happen.
Absolutely.
And in medicine, we're very biased. I call it lies, damn lies, and evidence-based medicine. We like to pick what we believe in and then we support it.
Yeah.
But I always say, when you begin to look at and do something you don't believe in, you're going to learn something pretty amazing. And I know personally, I didn't believe in the immune stuff or the diet stuff until I simply opened up and started practicing it.
Yes.
And I'm seeing such amazing success globally from patients who simply begin to latch onto this, whether you're doing intercourse. Gosh, amazingly, we recommend sex, and then either IUI or IVF.
Yeah.
It really helps a lot. So I think that kind of covers it.
It does.
But remember, fertile fatty foods first.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing, and it's opposite. You ask most doctors, most dietitians, you will not get this idea. No. They'll think you're crazy.
But the wonderful thing is our clients have great success. Our clients are enjoying it. They are so excited to have a diet where they're not hungry. They feel completely satiated. They have energy. They can eat bacon. They have wonderful foods they can approach and have at any time. So it's been great.
And we've been really recommending this and talking more about it. And I'm kind of like this broken record on this. But it's the one thing you control,
Absolutely.
not me. We've brought out this new magazine on the path to fertility. We're looking for more ideas and concepts as we're going through this. You can certainly email us or call us.
Absolutely.
We'll send you one. We do have a digital copy,
right on
and
our
we're going to be
website.
redoing this on a quarterly basis. And we do talk about food, and one of the concepts that's out there is how do you try not to, how do you work not to sort of hide and make it look like traditional food?
Absolutely.
And it's a challenge. And if you get back to basics, it really is the thing that's most amazing in the process, and I highly recommend it.
Absolutely. Okay, so next question is, if there is male factor, can diet alter this enough to improve fertility, and what would you suggest?
Well,
diet.
So getting pregnant requires an egg and a sperm to our techniques today.
Yes.
And so that means there's the female factor and the male factor. It's a 50-50 contribution. Even when people say the woman is older and has diminished ovarian reserve or low AMH, it still requires an egg and a sperm, and you got to improve both of those.
Absolutely.
And so the ketogenic plan is number one, and it improves eggs and sperm because the inflammatory process. So imagine pouring sugar into your gas tank or the oil inlet and thinking your car is going to run better. Well, guess what? It's going to die. It's going to get oxidative, stressful damage, and it's not going to work well. It's amazing. You put a tablespoon of sugar in the gas tank or the oil line, and it's going to get damaged. The amazing part is, in our bloodstream is I think it's 1 teaspoon of sugar dissolved. That's it. The other amazing part to our human bodies is we do not require 1 ounce of carbohydrates to consume. 0. Our bodies require fat and a little bit of protein. And doing that will heal sperm and heal the eggs, and ultimately provide the flowing oil, which is the lymphatics, which is every intracellular bit of fluid that is reducing the inflammation and allowing even the mitochondria or the telomeres in the chromosomes to separate normally.
Yeah.
So there's a micro environment that's being screwed up by consumption of excessive carbohydrates and variety of carbohydrates that add antigens to our system that basically just cause it to keel over. And we're like old cars. They end up in a junkyard.
Yes.
But you can polish it up,
Yes.
change the oil, tune it up, and put the highest premium fuel in it. And you'd be amazed at what happens in your body. Absolutely. It does help eggs and sperm.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
Did I answer the question?
Yes.
Good.
So what options do we have for our LGBT couples?
Well, LGBT couples, like all couples, individuals, CNY Fertility is here to help.
Absolutely.
And certainly we recommend the keto plan for everyone. And with that, we recommend some basic evaluation, making sure that you're eating healthy, you seem to be ovulating. We're checking thyroid, prolactin, vitamin D. We're checking the fallopian tubes. And with that, now it's a matter of finding the right sperm.
Yes.
We're actually starting a sperm bank. We're looking for sperm donors. We would love to be able to encourage sperm and egg donation at no compensation, giving the gift of life so we can pass on that savings to all of those in the community that are looking to reduce the cost of becoming a parent. And whether you're single or in a same-sex partnership or a heterosexual partnership, that's the human condition. We're here to support that. And our next move is, as we develop our sperm bank, to include the sperm as part of that process at no additional charge. So we're really encouraging our team to start the process. We just worked on the website, the CNY Cryobank, and if you have friends or family that you can encourage to give that gift of life, and whether it's egg donation, sperm donation, or surrogacy, you know, that's where we can help all of us. So really, our support is to the LGBT community as it is to everyone else, because we're human beings and we're all the same, and that connection to a child is our foundation.
Wonderful. Thank you. So is IVF the only option for women with salpingitis? It looks like this.
Salpingitis isthmusnodosum. Is that SIN?
That's it, yep.
Well, SIN is a proximal tubal disease that causes obstruction. And if we can't get the tubes open, then IVF is the only way. Now, how does the body heal itself from anything? Guess what? It can. We have to believe it. You have to do the work. Maya massage, abdominal massage, acupuncture. Okay, zero carbs, high fat, keto, reduces inflammation. The inflammation allows the body to heal, just like cancer and diabetes and arthritis and MS. All of these are autoimmune diseases that are caused by inflammation and carbs. That's the first step. We do offer a hysteroscopy with selective tubal catheterization, and I believe that laparoscopy and treating endometriosis, and it may even be a month to 3 months of Lupron to suppress estrogen levels, adding low-dose naltrexone and monthly intralipids is something that we believe helps reduce the inflammatory process and may help ultimately reduce that inflammation. I believe our next step is looking at more treatments with LIT, Humira, IVIG. And imagine all of these diseases are really of the same origin. inflammation from sugar.
Yes.
And it's the Occam's razor, which is the simplest answer is usually the one. We in Western medicine really have blinders on that we've given a story and have a belief. So when it comes to SIN, IVF is the best and the quickest. But if you're willing to practice some different modalities, prayer, meditation, Reiki, acupuncture, music, light therapy.
Absolutely.
There's a host of 1,000-year-old treatments that somehow work when you least expect it.
Yeah.
So, if you hold the dream of expectations rather than, oh my God, it'll never happen. If that's our mentality, well, our body just vibrates nervousness and stress. So the real trick is yoga, meditation, prayer, acupuncture, and then laparoscopy, hysteroscopy, selective cath, and then ask the question, but seek out alternatives before you give up. When all else fails, we do a lot of IVF.
Absolutely.
And when you do it simpler with lower medications, natural cycles, you can bypass many of these things at a much lower cost with less intervention.
Absolutely. Wonderful, thank you. So the next question is, how many IUIs should a woman do with no particular fertility issue but needing to use donor sperm before moving on to IVF?
So how many inseminations with donor sperm before you move on to IVF when all you need is donor sperm?
Yes.
Well, it depends on the age of the woman. Early 30s, you might do 10 to 12. It's a cost, emotion, physical process. This is the problem. So it takes a year of unprotected intercourse to be considered infertile.
Yes.
But when you're spending $600 or $800 for the sperm and plus the IUI, it gets a little costly.
Absolutely.
You know, sometimes you wonder if just going to a bar and getting dinner might be cheaper, but that's dangerous, so I'm not recommending it. And that's one of the reasons we're really working for the sperm to really be provided at a much lower cost. So I would say if after 3 you're not pregnant, it's time to rediscuss, okay, do I keep on? Do I think about laparoscopy? Are we adding the supplements, the alternative complementary, I would call it integrative processes?
Absolutely.
And then certainly if after 6, it might be time to say, okay, it's cost me this much. So let's just say my IUI success is 20% per month for the first 6 months, and then it drops. And IVF may be in the 50 to 60% range depending on your age, and if that's the only cause, then it might be, you look at the cost, benefit, and emotional process. Talk to your physician, your practitioner, whether it be a nurse practitioner, your nurse, or an IVF fertility specialist. Have the conversation. And I do a ton of Skype and phone and texting conversations around the world before you sort of make your decision. But the key is persistence. Don't give up. And one of the things at CNY Fertility, I don't tell people, well, gee, it hasn't worked by now. Shouldn't you give up or look at alternatives? Because I've seen pregnancies by being persistent.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of data to support that. And going right to IVF isn't right for everyone. Because we're fertility specialists. We're not just IVF specialists.
Absolutely.
It encompasses au natural. We recommend having an intimate relationship.
Yes, definitely.
And even after an IUI, an intimate same-sex relationship really is important. We believe orgasm helps with all the immune systems. It relaxes us. Really important and critical in the process.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. So how can you try to conceive via IVF if you have to have a transabdominal cerclage prior to IVF due to multiple losses, the last being triplets? Let's see, this was the 4th pregnancy conceived through CNY, but we've not had a live baby yet.
So is the question, should you do a cerclage?
Yeah, well, how can you try to conceive via IVF if you have to have a transabdominal cerclage before IVF due to so many losses? Can you do IVF? Apparently, yes, with a cerclage.
So an intra-abdominal cerclage,
Yes.
I think, is one of the best. And I think it's good to do before you do IVF. If we can get through the cervix easily,
Yes.
it increases success rates. My belief in the incompetence of the cervix has to do with tissue support
Yes.
and blood flow. And this is where acupuncture, massage, and the keto plan really help. And there are a number of centers in the country that specialize in intra-abdominal cerclage. I recommend it. Don't wait for the rescue cerclage because it's too late. An incompetent cervix, if you think it, you should do the cerclage earlier than later.
Great, thank you. So this client has PCOS and she's doing the keto diet, and she's wanting to do other tips to help with implantation, which is more important. Keto or the other tips as in pineapple core, Brazilian nuts, pomegranate juice, the list goes on and on.
Oh my God, oh my God. You know, there's so many stories out there because you can use cocaine and people get pregnant and have babies, and that's our frustration. We look at all these people that we think are unhealthy and we claim, well, gee, look at them, that happened. Okay, let's step back a minute. All that other stuff is just stuff that I don't believe helps you get pregnant, because ultimately you're adding a bunch of carbs.
Absolutely.
So if you do the keto high-fat plan, it's the best. What other things? LDN, intralipids, Prograf, IVIG, metformin, Ovasitol.
Yes.
Theralogic has Ovasitol. Highly recommend it. Between their Ovasitol and the CoQ10 and the vitamin D, I think it really is critical in the healing process. It's interesting when I talk about keto, everyone thinks it's about weight. It's not.
No.
It's about what flows through your system. It's the cleansing diet. Do not use pineapple core because fiber is a compost creator. It creates inflammation in your colon.
Yes.
That inflammation spreads to your pelvis, and it is not good. And so I know this is really counter. I'm only telling you stories from so many of our patients around the globe who have told us it worked. Now, gee, where's the randomized study? If you're going to wait for that, then you might be waiting and then find yourself like, why did I wait? I say, if what you're doing hasn't worked, do something different. That's the amazing shift and change. So, nuts and seeds and quinoa have a lot of carbs.
Yes.
They're antigenic. They're not good for you. All right? Salad, it's bad. I'm sorry, it's bad. It's a carb, all right? So
Everyone just went, what?
we're not rabbits.
Absolutely.
We're not rabbits, we're not grazers, we are humans.
Absolutely.
And
we're different.
If what you're doing isn't getting where you want and you know something better, I'm just telling you what I've seen and observed and practiced, and I'm like, wow, maybe if I tell everyone this, they're not going to have infertility, and I'm going to put myself out of business. Well, we're here to guide you and give you opposite, because most of us doctors will say, acupuncture doesn't work, or yoga doesn't work, or the diet, it doesn't work. And we're not open.
Absolutely.
And if you haven't practiced it, how can you comment on it?
And we often very easily set aside, okay, well, I'm going to be injecting myself every day for 1 month, for 2 months, and it's very uncomfortable, and it's very challenging emotionally and hormonally to use these medications. You can also set aside, I'm going to do this for 1 month, for 2 months, to get myself into the habit of it. You absolutely can make the commitment.
The 30-day keto cleanse, you have to throw away everything in your house.
Everything.
Everything, all food. Well, all food. bacon, eggs, butter, beef, salami, fatty cheese, cream, and it's crazy, all right? Fattiest meat. Now, fattiest fish, fattiest pork. Now, the other opposite to this, if you're a vegetarian, the one meal a day actually may be the carb load to store the carbs as fat, because every carb is converted to fat. We burn fat, we do not burn sugar as energy. It's the amazing concept. Insulin is critical to keep glucose down because glucose is the toxin. And so you really have to work on fish oil to get your omegas. You got to get those. If you don't get the fat, coconut oil, fatty butter, ghee. For many of my clients in India, I Skype and talk about this all the time. Add ghee. Do the one meal a day, because your body doesn't need all the carbs all day long. That's the toxin. All right? Glucose is not necessary, and it's not our energy source. Fat is. That's why all the vegetarians, the herbivores, are getting large, because it's storing as fat for the winter day when there isn't food out there. We're meant to store fat in order to burn it. So the key is, I believe, it's the dinner meal. If you're going to consume the carbs, do it then. By morning, you're in ketosis. Coffee with butter, tea with cream. If you look at Dave Osprey, his wife ate butter, 41, got pregnant, delivered a baby. And there's so much information out there that I've been reading about. David Boyle, I think maybe Phil Boyle in England does a lot of LDN and ketogenic diets. And Maria Emmerich is a consultant for us. She has a great book on keto adapted, and really, really valuable. So
it's all wonderful, and once you get into it, you'll find that it is delicious, and it does give you great energy.
And remember, fat suppresses appetite and inflammation. Carbs stimulate inflammation and stimulate appetite. Forget it, you can't win.
Well, the thing is, one last thought is with our PCOS clients, the cravings for carbohydrates and sugar is incredible with PCOS. And many women have said, I can't give them up, I've tried, I can't do it. But they never had the fat. And so especially with our PCOS clients, I say, okay, with your tea or your coffee in the morning, start with the grass-fed butter, put the Kerrygold butter in, and add heavy whipping cream. And it will kill those sugar and those carbohydrate cravings once you're fully satiated with the fat. It's gone.
Right, so we'll inject anti-inflammatory intralipids, IVIG expensive, or eat the butter.
Eat butter.
Eat the cream.
You're good. Okay, so the next client is 35 years old, but has an AMH of 0.86. Do you think I should use my own eggs or go straight to donor eggs?
35.86 AMH.
Correct.
So any test is not a marker of ever. It's only a marker of now. An AMH is not a marker I'm going to get pregnant or not get pregnant. It's just a marker of how many eggs am I going to make and what are my odds a little bit. I've seen plenty of low AMHs get pregnant and have babies, and high AMHs not. So that in and of itself is not enough to say go right to donor eggs. Our business is a little screwy. We're trying to select out the best patients for IVF and allow them to do IVF to give us the best rates of success, because lo and behold, if we have bad rates, I don't know what. Rates are only a selection bias and nothing more. And I call it centers of selection, and rather than excellence. Excellence is built in our ability to be open to change. And our reproductive medicine specialty is not very open to change. So I would say, whatever you can do to reduce inflammation, think about laparoscopy. I've seen so many PCO patients do ovarian acupuncture or drilling and get pregnant. An AMH is just a number, not the number. Be careful how you read it. And be open. Now, it may be that donor eggs are going to be your best option, but I've seen plenty of low AMHs have babies.
Yes.
And unless you do something, we've had so many patients that were canceled from a center of excellence. They came to us, we retrieved those 3 follicles, get 2 eggs, 1 embryo, and a beautiful baby.
Yep.
Now, that's one case. There are infinite number of cases just like that are denied the opportunity to conceive because we believe you're not going to be successful. And we don't have that ability. We're not that smart.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next client would like to know how the winner will know that she has won the IVF, and I will email the winner tonight. So, can you please discuss the ketogenic diet that should be used for fertility treatments, as well as any great literature to look at for further guidance on the diet? Thank you.
Well, Maria Emmerich's Ketogenic Adapted is a good start. Jimmy Moore's Keto Clarity, Cholesterol Clarity are amazing starts. I'm a voracious reader about this. I just Google it, I listen, I read.
Yes.
Gary Taubes, Good Calories, Bad Calories. Being gluten-free is not enough.
Correct.
It's just one of the variety of antigens that cause us to have an inflammatory reaction.
And be careful of, if you look up recipes, when you see keto recipes and they're using coconut flour and stevia and they're using all of these different supplements, be careful of those. You can very easily get into the habit of that sweet food. You can get into the habit of sneaky carbs in there, really.
And I'm going to admit, on our new magazine, we're still moving into the direction that you really got to get away from berries and pancakes. Again, if you had your baby and you have no other problems, then go at it however you want. But if you want to eliminate or nearly eliminate the risk of cancer, heart disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, Crohn's disease, you name it, do the ketogenic. Okay, once a week, you can have a special time and event. That's the beauty of this.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's the basic. I'm working to put a lot of references on our website. I recently found a really great reference about ketogenic diet. It was one of the first articles that someone really wasn't afraid to spell out the truth, and I'll send that out on our website.
Absolutely.
And it'll be out there if it's not out there already.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's see, is IVF difficult after 40? I went through successful IVF 2 years ago and only took 1 cycle. Now I'm looking at a more difficult time now that I'm 40.
Well, I just turned 60, and I can tell you the age we have is in our minds, and there are so many women in their 40s having babies, either naturally or with IVF. And so if you're worried about it and you're waiting about it, that's going to be the harder part. Not to do it, but you're going to put yourself in a greater probability by doing something, and that's what I recommend more than anything. So put plenty of pictures of babies on your vision board. You got your baby in your arms or your pictures of babies, and you have to believe.
Absolutely.
Believe first. And human beings are storytellers. We're believers or perceivers. The brain is the creator. Medicine, science, religion, poetry, belief, it's all the same. So, you're 40 years young. I always ask, how young are you? And if you imagine that, hey, my ovaries and uterus and sperm is all going to be great at this young age. One thing at CNY Fertility we pride ourselves on, giving each person a chance and helping you believe, because we believe. But you got to do something to get something. Absolutely. And so you're 40 years young, you've had a baby. If you don't do it, you fail. If you do it, flip a coin. There you go.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's see, so with a low AMH, what can you do to increase your AMH before starting your IVF cycle?
Well,
to us a little bit before.
Back to AMH could be boosted and changed. What you put in here, what you put in here, and what you do with this here is going to be the first thing. Light therapy, acupuncture, massage, Reiki, start there. DHEA, CoQ10, fish oil. I've learned a lot from CHR, Dr. Gleischer. He's posted a lot on how to boost these things. And one of the critical parts, there's a lot of naysayers in our business. Yeah. Oh, you know, your odds are too low because of your numbers. Maybe if we didn't look at the numbers and we just did something, and you might be surprised at the outcome that you get from that.
Absolutely. Next question is good about the keto diet. Do you count total carbs or net carbs or any carbs?
Okay. A little cocaine or a lot of cocaine, what's too much cocaine? I would say any cocaine. So on a daily basis, 0. Okay. I love ice cream. Fatty ice cream. Maria Emmerich has this great keto ice cream. I add a little sugar because I believe white sugar is better than something fake or honey, all right? So the carbs once a day, that's it. I would say, again, it's 0 is my recommendation. But it really is, you know, because people look at like a package and say, well, I'm eating this kale and it's ultimately is a low net carb, or this fruit, it's got a lot of fiber, so it's technically not absorbable carbs. Yes. That's made up. It's a story that I don't believe is true. My recommendation is if you're calling me up because you're trying to get pregnant, it's not happening, and you want to get there, do something that's really easy. Go keto. And if you go keto and high fat, because if you don't do the high fat, you won't suppress the inflammation and the appetite. Forget it. You got to get rid of alcohol. Okay, maybe once a week, a nice Tito's extra dirty, blue cheese stuffed olive martini up, and you got to enjoy it once a week at least. And so, but you know, you plan around with it. We're working on a study where we're going to be looking at ketosis. We're going to be recruiting patients and working with the Eggland's Best eggs and the bacon, eggs, butter, beef, and going to testing it out and proving it. So tell us your stories, give us input of what we can do better, and we're going to continue doing this webinar once a month.
Absolutely.
A once a month giveaway. We're going to be creating the CNY Global Fertility Club, and based on that, you'll have access to more affordable fertility care, information, free giveaways, and you know, life is actually amazing that we're even here to have this conversation. So if we can just imagine, wow, I put a lot of crazy stuff out there, Mind, Body, Smile, but we're here for a short time.
Absolutely.
Let's adventure to be creative in something really different and amazing. Imagine your fertility, and imagine that it's all affordable. $20 in a baby bank every day. If you can afford 40, put it in there. And you'll be suddenly amazed at what you can afford.
Absolutely.
Life is the gift, and creating a child, we're here to help in that process.
Well, thank you so much for this fantastic webinar. I know we had wonderful questions come in. We had many more that are right on the list, and we'll go through them with our weekly videos that we do and try to answer as many as we can. And like we said, we'll be back next month to completely go through as many more questions as we can get through. And thank you very much for sharing all of your information tonight.
And it's a pleasure, and you know, just connect, and we're available. We do a lot of, I throw out my cell phone, 315-416-9872.
Absolutely.
Text questions. Those texts will go to our team. They can help answer those questions also. But really grateful to everyone for their support and blessings on this fertile path.
Absolutely. Thank you.
God bless.